Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever applies to you, and welcome back to yet another EuroLeague. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Keire and Nymaera for all things Week 2 LEC. Now, before we talk about any of that, of course it is time, Keire, for my patented Would You Rather. This one is, I would say, almost meta, straight from Reddit. Posted today on Reddit and stolen on the same day by me for your viewing / listening
Freshly
pleasure.
stolen.
Exactly, yeah. So, before the internet police capture me and put me in jail, Keire, would you rather always feel itchy or always feel sticky? Now, how does this manifest, you ask? Well, let's just say a random part of you at any given moment, on and off, like, you know, once every 10 seconds, let's say, either feel really sticky or really itchy. It's that simple. So maybe you have sticky hands for 10 minutes, then you don't for 10 more minutes,
Right.
then you do for 10
Okay.
minutes, then you're really itchy for 10 minutes. You know, however you view it
Right.
or see it, sticky or itchy.
So there's degrees to how itchy something can be. So members of my family suffer from a condition called psoriasis. Now, if any of you have ever seen psoriasis, there's even degrees on psoriasis. Now, I've seen what some of them have went through into how itchy something can be. That doesn't look good. So I might just have to return to my teenage years and have sticky hands, Rich.
Lovely, beautiful image for
So does
for
it leave
all-
like a
for
does it
all watchers
does it
and
leave like a
listeners.
residue?
What do you mean? It was when I was like eating jelly with my
Is that what the
was it.
kids call it this day?
Uh,
Eating jelly. That's a new one. I haven't heard that euphemism before. Very interesting. Eating jelly. Wow. Anyway, so let me set the parameters a bit more specifically, okay? So it's not going to be itching to the point where you're like drawing blood because you've just got like this disease level chronic itch or something. It'll just be I mean, you know, we've all experienced it, haven't we? We're just a bit itchy. Damn, my hand's itchy. Itch, 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 itch. In the same way, like, oh, my hands feel a little bit sticky. Not like you've dipped them into vats of glue, but, you know, like maybe you didn't wash your hands completely properly after eating. And you're like, oh, my hands still feel a bit sticky. Sticky to the point of it being really annoying. Itchy to the point of it being you really feel like you have to scratch that itch, but not, again, drawing blood or to that level. So let's say moderately sticky, moderately itchy, and it comes in waves. So
I feel my fate now. You can go.
So does the stickiness leave like a residue, or is it just
no?
the
It's a
feeling?
It's a feeling.
No. Okay. No. It would really change things if you're like on your phone or like your mouse and keyboard and like constantly
Not
leaving
like honey,
gloop
just
on them and shit.
yeah, no.
No, it's different feeling like it.
I could feel this emulsion. And then,
No. You shut up. If I had to like clean my phone screen like every damn time after.
Bro, I just wasn't ready for residue. I've not heard that word in a long time. You know,
it's a fairly common word. Does it leave sticky shit on it?
Pretty normal word. Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Does it leave that sticky stuff on my phone screen?
There is no residue, but it feels like there's residue. So there you go. And when if you're using your phone, Nymaera, to be crystal clear, it feels like the phone's sticky when it's in your sticky ass feeling hands.
Yeah, that's not great. I mean, neither of these are great, right?
I feel like I'm being fetishized right now, by the way, by Rich. That's terrible.
You are now the one that's started to manifest this, I suppose.
Better people than you have felt that way, Keire. So you know,
people than me. That must be a very tall and great man, Rich.
Yeah, you join an elite list. Anyway.
I think I'm gonna go for the itchiness. I just think feeling, oh god, everything being sticky would feel really icky. You know, it'd feel kind of shit. I think if as long as it's like moderately itchy, I could get away with it. Whatever.
Wait, like Keire, you take the stickiness. Is that correct? Okay. I'm definitely taking the itchiness. I hate
these are fucking heinous crimes are being committed.
I hate this. Like, you know, there are two underrated feelings, or overrated, I guess. Oh well, no, I don't even know what the phraseology would be. Understated feelings in
The
life.
phraseology.
Sorry, is that another word we're not allowed to? Note that down,
Fucking
Nymaera. Residue and phraseology, banned words officially.
No, not banned words. I just use updating my lexicon at all points in time, you know.
It's like in
It's
Scotland,
crazy.
they're all given out like the equivalent of like a Pokedex when anyone uses like a completely normal English word spoken with proper articulation. And
Yeah, wait
it
until
just
we hit the
updates.
purple burglar alarm. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, like
You're a cruel man, Nymaera. You're a cruel man.
the two feelings rather that I absolutely despise. One, that sort of horrible I need to brush my teeth feeling of like people say it's like furry almost. It's like, oh, you feel like you can
Furry
almost
teeth.
feel like the texture of your teeth. I hate that. And the other one is like sticky. I hate stickiness. Like, really tilts me. Itching would obviously be annoying, but the other thing is, if it's just a feeling, right? Like you feel sticky, you won't be 100% sure whether or not your hands are actually sticky or if they're just fake sticky, Whereas an itch is an itch. Like, it's not really caused by, I mean, that could be just someone brushing you with a feather, or it could be a legitimate, oh, I've got eczema, So that's whatever. An itch needs to be itched regardless. Whereas stickiness is like, yeah, could confuse you. So I'm definitely taking itchiness. I hate stickiness, so fuck that. Anyway, from one sticky situation to another, we have to start nowhere else but Los Ratones, who are crawling themselves out of what a lot of people thought would be a 0-11 sticky situation. But 2 wins in week 2 mean they're now, I guess, I don't know, a serviceable LEC team. Or are they? Let's talk about it. And Nymaera, I want to hear from you first on this. What do you feel that we learned this week from or about LR? Obviously, they did get 2 wins. Bit of help from shifters in one of those wins, it has to be said. But, oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw the tweet I put up recently. I only just noticed it watching the thing back of Crowny at the end. Have you seen
I did
the GIF?
see it. Yeah, I just saw it now. I saw it.
I love it. I love it as well because it's so clear exactly what he's saying. Obviously, it's only a couple of words. There's like zero ambiguity, and I thought, that's great. Obviously, again, some people might interpret that as him being BM or something. I think that's just like someone who's super hyped in the moment. And whoever it was who just said it, it's not like he hates shifters or something. I think he's just like,
the passion of it.
yeah, he's just like, fuck yeah, we did it kind of thing. So I thought that was awesome. But yeah, so what have we learned this week?
What did I think of them?
What
did we learn about them? Okay, so if you don't confidently close a game versus Lost Ratones, they're actually a very good clutch late game team fighting team. Pretty much what we need from ERLs, but it is actually quite an important benchmark to see that it works at least the bottom end of LEC level. Problem is, these are the easiest LEC teams, especially with Na'Vi being a lot better than we thought they would be. They've already lost the game versus KC Blue as well. So they've gone through their easiest opponents now, but it is still very important to show that actually, if you can't close a game against them, and they do have that late game kind of capability, particularly on their solo laners, this team can actually make a dent against teams which are not confident. It does take 2 to tango. At the end of the day, shifters made several huge mistakes in a row. I think, if you look at the fights in the base, Nuke flashes forward to combo onto Crowny, but then leaves himself directly in range of a Rise, and he has no skills left available. A little bit later, just the Baron fight was just a disaster against Shift. This is obviously the second game that they lost, but this is, I think, that they won, rather. But it's, and again, there's nuance to this, because actually Lost Ratones did very good to pick up the pieces and win from these losses, but also at the same time, oh my god, how did it happen with that kind of lead? Because the Baron fight, it's like, the shifters are playing a 0 tank composition, so they don't really want to stay on Baron. They stay on it too long, they get engaged on, they get split, so the retreat for it wasn't good. And they obviously die in that fight. But then, arguably the worst thing is the way that they re-engage for it. When Nuke ults, he backs, teleports to bot lane to try and buy someone's attention, which is fine. Ults over to the Baron, which again is fine. And he just walks onto a Caitlyn trap, which is fully visible, and loses all of his HP. He can't fight. Trimby walks up, eats shit and dies. Paddock goes, no, my support, dashes in to kill Caitlyn, and instead goes melee range of a Gragas, and instantly dies. I tell you what, Paddock was fucking awful that game. He had an absolute nightmare. So, I'm hoping that there will be a sense of nuance to this in terms of shifters had to throw this game. However, because we now know they're a bad game at closing, bad team at closing games, and I think Heretics also fell into that bracket as well. We have learned that you cannot disrespect Lost Ratones by dragging them to late game. If they go to late game, they are actually still a threat. They're not a good early game team, but they do actually have the team fighting prowess and the clutch prowess to make a dent right the way into LEC, which is, I think, what people had hoped for. But we finally get to see an example of it.
By the way, the amount of people like replying to my old tweet talking about Velia and LEC or whatever immediately after this game, be like, see, what about now? And I'm like, that's your takeaway, Velia, from that? Like, what? Okay, whatever, mate. Yeah, obviously, as you say, I think one area which has always been hypothesized about, apart from anything else, because he's not played professionally for ages, is how can Nemesis hang or whatever. And I think at the very least, he's sort of playing towards the strengths that we all think we had about him, which is, his late game team fighting and stuff like that did look pretty good, at least in this game. But yeah, Keire, what were your sort of main takeaways, or why do you think, I guess, this week was better than last week, aside from, shifters existing and breathing air?
Yeah, like, it's just a variance of BO1s, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier to get. They got Rise Caitlyn twice. Yeah, for the 2 wins.
They had Rise. Yeah, I think it was Rise Caitlyn both games. Yes.
Yeah, they had Rise Caitlyn twice. They had Velia was on Pantheon and Mundo, which are really quite good. They can both like occupy space in like a different way and then get a lot of like spatial denial. Obviously, Pantheon play way more mobile and can link in with like the Rise plays. But like Mundo's not too bad because Mundo's actually one of the champs that uses the Rise Realm Walk really well to terrain scale. Basically give a terrain scaling element to a champion that has none. That gets effectively kited. I quite liked the use of like the Nami. I think Nami plus with these really aggressive junglers like the Nami plus the Pantheon, the Xin I rate them very, very highly. I think they are the A tier. Some of the combos are the S tier of League of Legends right now. And then you pair that up with, I think people need to try and move their mind in scaling. We've kind of we're kind of in a stage where we're in the Kelsey Moser era of scaling, as I call it, where scaling isn't actually just about more damage. It's about like range and like effective, like threat range of like scaling. You know what I mean? It's one of like the big efficacies of like your Varus, your Aphelios. Caitlyn keeps up a higher threat range, highest natural attack damage, attack range in the game that's not Jinx or Tristana. Plays really, really well into people who can't like terrain scale. One of the games she's into Vi and Nidalee. Now that game is the one that is like majorly thrown. These two champions can like move around the traps like pretty well, even when they're like placed. But they're actually really bad once the Caitlyn is sieging, and this is like the key. Nidalee is a great sieger. She can heal, she can poke, she can keep your backline like up and going and poke wars. She does not like to be like siege. She doesn't like join, give you like the anti-siege capabilities that sometimes like a Rumble ult does. Or like, I'm trying to think of another traditional like top laner that's quite good against siege.
I mean, even Jace is good against.
Yeah, Jace of like yesteryear. I'm just trying to think of like.
Sorry, good at sieging or good against it?
Good against sieging.
Oh, Ornn, because people are pushing to get
Yeah, Ornn. There's a good one. Thank you, Nymaera. Like these are the types of like. So Nidalee's like a bit of a weird one. I don't hate the Nidalee top. Like I don't despise it. It's just kind of one of those ones. Is it game 1 F tier pick? Is it like? It's maybe for me. It's maybe like game 3, game 4, game 5. You know what I mean? With a pinch. So I think it's quite a poor draft from shifters. I don't love it. I really don't like Lucian. Lucian Nico. Really don't like that. Not a fan. And then in the other game, I think the other game's the massive pop-off game from Nemesis. Yeah, that's a massive pop-off game where he like blows the game open as like Rise. I really like the Braum. It shuts the you've got the Cassante, the Jace, not less, and even the Cassiopeia is quite short range, and basically you're going to meet them in the meat grinder with Rise, Dr. Mundo, and Kled, and you're basically just going to say, we're going to just outstat you with like stuns. Again, like
I don't
the
think it
Bouse.
should have worked the way that it did, though.
No, it shouldn't have worked the way that it did. Here's the thing: the Bouse's pick, he's going to play the Bouse like stuff, right? Is that like again, like is that Kled like this? Is this the greatest Kled angle ever? Like, no. I think it took a lot of like misplaying. I think Stend had an absolute fucking mare. I think Seren had an absolute mare. I think the variants of like BO1s really help. Lost Ratones are going to be that the ultimate, like, if they do make playoffs, it's like, how does Fearless like affect them in the LEC? You know what I mean? That's going to be all the teams are going to, but it's so hard to put credence onto a win. Basically, all you're going to say is like the backline came together, Reckless had like a good week, and Velia was on stuff that meant he could int less.
Well, I'll tell you one thing which is really tangible, because like, look, I mean, I know it's going to be quite unsatisfying for a lot of Lost Ratones fans, like hearing a lot of this, because it feels like it's undermining the wins. End of the day, this is still a big result for them. And to give like a tangible positive thing, the biggest difference was Velia and Reckless fought around mid lane a lot better than week one. Like they were actively going into the lane and achieving things than they weren't in week one, where we saw Velia and Reckless managing to get kills onto Seren. What this meant, in particular in their first win against Heretics, is that Seren was meant to counter Nemesis with the Cassiopeia. It didn't. He wasn't ahead in lane. Nemesis got super ahead. That was a really big game from him, where he popped off in there, and that led to the game breaking play, which was that top lane fight where Seren and Sheo tried to shut down Nemesis. He bought so much time and did so much damage that when Velia walked in, they lost 2 people. They lost the turret afterwards, and what was something like a 3, maybe even a 5,000 gold. It was a significant gold lead, right? That all fell apart, and Lost Ratones had the objective lead. So they'd kind of traded gold for objective. That's how they got the gold back, and then they could go towards late game, which is, of course, where things went really well for them. Now, the game did come down to a Baron steal, realistically, in that game too, I seem to remember. Where Vel just walked up and did it. But I think what Lost Ratones did very well versus Heretics and Shifters is just capitalize on panic. I think that the pressure of these teams losing to the streamer team that had made it into LEC really fucked with them. It really fucked with them. Obviously, we can see stuff like Nuke's tweets after the game, which, like, you can see the amount of pressure that was on him, and him just, like, mentally exploding. You know, being a team to lose to Lost Ratones, I don't think people realized how bad that could be before we started seeing stuff like that. Heretics, we was like, okay, well, you know, they joked about it, but like the Shifters loss, oh my god, Nuke exploded.
I mean, what's crazy as well is like, you know, people always say when they see a really like a stupid tweet or something, they're like, what's crazy is he had to type it out, read it, and then click send, you know? To me, what's crazy is like, imagine how unbelievably pissed off / shaken from this Nuke actually was, because he had time removed and then he still decided to go to Twitter, write a tweet, read it back, and then click tweet, and then did it again, sent 2 tweets. And it's like, dude, there's a whole it's not like, you know, you punch someone in the face and they go, ow, fuck, how dare you, and throw a punch back. It's like, the game happened, he's then like away from the game, and he's later in the day like typing up tweet. Like, that must have fucked with them so badly. And to be honest, it was actually kind of, I'm not even sure what the word was. Disturbing is too much, but it was kind of sad almost to see those tweets, because I really felt like he did actually give you some kind of insight into his almost mental state with those tweets, and you're like, damn, this guy is putting himself under immense pressure, and he is unbelievably frustrated that game happened. So yeah, I mean, that just from a sort of more personal perspective.
By the way, it's about like the Faker thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember when Faker hit his head off the wall? What?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Right? It's because he cares.
Yeah.
Like, there's one thing, like, and like, I'm not trying to get too grandstanding, but bro, at least you give a fuck. Like, at least you recognize that, like, you're here to do a job, and you've kind of fucked it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like.
No, but
you've also got standards for yourself. You know what I mean?
But that's what I like though. Again, on the one hand, you've got like the sheer elation and almost release of a pressure valve from like Crownie at the end of that game, saying "fuck you, shifters," and then you've got on the other side Nuke doing basically the typing tweets equivalent of banging his head against a wall, for lack of a better comparison. So yeah, no, I mean, in a way I like to see it again. Obviously, I feel for Nuke or whatever, and I don't think everything bad that's happening at Shifters is his fault or something. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's good to. I also think that people were very concerned, and rightly so, that because of the conflict of interest issues and because there were 12 teams and 2 teams weren't real LEC teams, etc., like how seriously certain people are going to take this split. But I think stuff like this does sort of put people in the headspace of, okay, this is serious business and we're not just here to fuck around, and
Well,
it doesn't start until spring or whatever.
And especially when you put it in the context of, do you guys see the clip of Keire like crying on stream after the first win and stuff too? Like, I mean, I know Keire well enough. We spent some time together, on work and stuff like that. That was genuine emotion, folks. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of pressure stepping into the LEC. I think with it becoming a bit antagonistic, with people just like assuming that Lost Ratones forced their way into the LEC, which is not correct at all. I mean, would they want to be there? Sure, but it's not like they're forcing Riot to do this. Riot are the ones which did it. It's on Riot if you have issues with them being there in the first place. It's not on Cadrel, certainly. The amount of pressure I think that particularly teams like Carmine Core and the fan base of it have put towards him is really not fair, I think, in that case. Actually.
It's not fair, right? But I actually think, right, they actually had like this is going to go into a lot about Divergent. And it's easy for me to say this when I've not got a skin in the game. Basically, if you ever recommend someone to do actions that you don't like hanging any of the recourse for, then you should basically ignore them. But what a point I'd like to make is, KCorp and Lost Ratones could have linked together and went, yeah, we're not going to accept this because we think that like there should be an actual path, a consistent path into the LEC rather than this like one-off thing. And we as like owners and KC as an actual like like Hingy owner, like you'd actually have like a moment to like say something back to like Riot about the current state of like the LEC and stuff like that, or like a bit forward. The whole idea of like he had to like participate is also just a.
I kind of agree. I mean, I think even more so, like, necessarily from the KC side, because as Nymaera said, like, if someone gives you something awesome for free, and especially because there's not real, like, it's a moral quandary, but not, it's not like, taking out like blood money or not.
It's not immoral. What I'm saying is, it's like an opportunity.
But what I'm saying is, it's not like something that's, accepting blood money or not, or whatever. This is like a more nuanced, like, basically they've just offered you something and he's kind of taken it, and it's like a bit whatever. Like it's like a skipping the queue thing. That's what it really is. It's a skipping the queue thing, and obviously not putting down any kind of level of investment.
Not putting the shopping trolley back.
Exactly, but I think it's more on Carmine Corp and the other teams, which is like retroactively they're like, oh, this is unfair and this is bullshit and blah blah blah. And a lot of people will come out and say, oh, but what can they do? Like, they're in this partnership and blah blah blah. And I can just tell you again, this isn't me with my own pom poms being like, look at me, how awesome I am. But you can do stuff. We put out multiple public letters. We complained about fucking everything that we disagreed with and said this is unfair, this is bullshit, or whatever. So I'm not going to sit here and say the opposite and be like, yeah, they're in a really difficult position to, because our take was, no, fuck this. This is bullshit. We think it's bullshit. And we're going to tell everyone and their granddad that it's bullshit. So yeah, I thought it was a bit weak of the teams in like the aftermath after Lost Ratones and KC Blue or whatever were already in this system to be sitting there being like, this is really unfair and they shouldn't have done this. And it's like, where were you when this was happening? When you can have the biggest effect, it's immediately before, where you're like, guys, by the way, this thing is being discussed. We think it's outrageous. It will undermine our investment. It will devalue our investment. And we think this is nonsense. So, we're just letting you guys know this is what's happening and we don't approve of this. They could have done that. They didn't. So to come out afterwards and then almost like, sort of be kind of vague about it as well. And I don't know. Like, to me, it was just kind of like, whatever. And again, I have sympathy, by the way. Like, I do think it is kind of bullshit, but,
Yeah, it's just, where is it the right place to direct that anger?
Exactly.
Just to bring it back to the Lost Ratones point, and you'll know this, Rich, because me and you have spoke quite extensively on it. I was never someone that thought Lost Ratones was that bad, by the way. I literally wasn't one of those people that thought they'll never win. LEC is just like a much higher like standard. Like, put it this way, I think the Bouse is like a flawed player. Like, but there are elements to the Bouse's game that is like, he is like, in terms of the efficacy of like strategy that I actually like agree with. but the Bowser's never actually tried to be a pro player. You know what I mean? And he's not even making an attempt to be a pro player. And so, like, assuredly, he will, like, fail in the capacity of, like, he is making no attempt to, like, be it. Like, if you understand that distinction. But I never thought Los Ratones were that bad. Like, I even ranked them above Navi, which was more out of the thing of ignorance. It's a bit like MKOI 4 years ago, I ranked them last in LEC, and then everyone was like, aha, like, look at Keire. And I was like, I literally ranked them last because I don't know 4 players and I know Alioya. I'm not researching an entire fucking league like of like esports. I just don't have the time. And they say, not completely, but Navi is also a matter of like ignorance. I just don't know these players well enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised they won. BO1s are volatile. Good for them. Hope they continue to upset.
Yeah, I mean, the big question, obviously, that people be asking themselves is, is this, have they turned a corner? Is it a false dawn? Again, I think all of these things are just answered by, it's BO1s. Do they look better this week than last week? Yes. As Nymaera said, did they have a relatively soft schedule up to this point? Also, yes. So, it's kind of like, well...
the pressure of the first win's gone now. So they will be better. I think they won't have as much stress because at least they've got some wins on. Getting your first one was always going to be the difficult one. So I think, yes, to a degree. Problem is you've now got the hard teams.
I mean, they also might just lose all of the rest of their games. Like, that is definitely on the table.
I think they'll still look better in them, though.
Sure,
honestly.
But winning, like, 3 more games is also theoretically on the table. Like, so, I don't know. I would be a little bit surprised if they made playoffs, but, whatever.
I think they'd need to win. If they win 1 more game, then it's like playoffs contention. In fact, it will have to be at least 1 more game because Shifted and SK play each other, so one of them is guaranteed to go to 3, get 3 wins. So they will need to beat. Let's be honest, they're probably not beating MKOI, probably not beating G2. Although honestly, G2 on current form, we'll see. Honestly, a crazy story. Navi looked like a pretty good team. So then they've got SK and Vitality on week 4. Both of them look kind of shit. It's not outside of their own possibility, right? But they do need to get like 1 win at least to try and get even just a tiebreak in.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess they will get exactly 1 more win. But if they got 0, or if they got 2, or even 3, like, I wouldn't be like amazed. So yeah, it's just with all these things again, a wait and see. But yeah, let's talk about SK. Now, we didn't talk about SK last week, but just because I thought it was an unspectacular week in sort of every sense, I guess. There were like more interesting stories, and it was also one of these teams where it's like you're going to know more about them after 2 weeks, I feel, than 1 week. So I think now is probably a good time to talk about this team. One little anecdote, or it's not my anecdote, in fact, it is a stolen anecdote. I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but I thought this was really funny. So Adam was on a co-stream talking about...
I gave you this, Rich.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so you still... How bad's your memory, Rich?
Oh,
I don't know shit about this. You tell me.
Wait,
you tell me.
Yeah, actually, sorry. Nymaera originally linked that. Then I linked...
Wait, did I?
What?
Yeah, I think so.
Nymaera... Okay, this is like... Are you sure? Right, let's fact check this quickly.
No, in fact, I did.
You did? Okay. Well, okay.
I'm hallucinating, folks. I've been on another podcast for 4 hours. What do you mean? Give me a break.
Keire,
just tell the anecdote.
This is only an L for Nymaera, by the way, because my memory was already compromised, and that's Nymaera now.
It's me.
I mean,
yeah. I just didn't. I forgot that Adam was on. Anyway, just tell the fucking story.
So Adam was on a co-stream talking about the off season, and he said during the LEC games, in fact during during SK's game, I think, and he said that Mickey X actually had the opportunity to join KC, but the sticking point for Mickey was that he would happily join KC if 2 things happened. Now, you can already guess what these 2 things are, but you're probably telling yourself, no, that's crazy. Like, no way. What are the actual 2 things? No. They are the same 2 conditions that he applies to literally every organization, even organizations he's already signed to, and just demands this randomly if the team hasn't gone like 18-0 or whatever, which is leader needs to play mid lane. I mean, that's egregious, but at least they didn't have a mid laner at the time, right? So whatever. But also that Keire should be kicked. Oh, sorry, yeah, Keire should be kicked for 1.
Yeah, no Keire.
Which is like, I mean, Mickey right. I always used to say the worst GM in the history of League is actually Perks, because people always used to do the meme of like the real GM of G2 is actually Perks. first of all the really good savvy moves they did was actually nothing to do with perks, and all the really dog shit moves that happened subsequently were in other organizations were all perks. So no, he is the worst GM in the history of LEC, but Mickey X is pushing him really fucking hard. Like, holy hell. Imagine that. Imagine
I think
saying
it's actually
to KC,
destroying his reputation. It's,
yeah,
it's actually
it
tanking
is.
his
No,
reputation.
unironically, by the way, and I would be, you know, the resident Mickey hater, I guess, on this panel at least. But obviously, I think Mickey X is a legendary EU player. I do not think this should be connected to his gameplay legacy at all. But it will invariably be connected because they are somewhat connected.
It'll be connected to him in the way that we talk about Larsen's career, right? Where he was
Sure.
not good at choosing rosters to be on. It's tangential, but still important in the context of his career.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anyway, that's fucking hilarious. Imagine being KC, by the way, being in the fucking room or on the call where he says, just one more thing, kick Canna for Wonder. I'm like, all right, mate, you can get the fuck
That
out
just
right
sounded
now.
like Emperor Palpatine. Kick him.
Yeah, I mean,
Kick Canna.
what are we doing? Anyway, so
the LEC is jungler and support.
this SK team is a thing that exists, unfortunately. So
Canna down, and I will become more powerful. Sorry, go on, stop me. Go on.
yeah, so SK is a thing. They do play the video game, kind of. Let's talk about it. I mean, I was obviously lower on this team than you guys, and obviously, you know, again, it can all turn in a week or so on. I'm not impressed so far. I'll just put it out there. I think they look pretty shit. Thoughts, Keire? Thoughts on SK so far?
Like, do you remember the Heretics with Perks and Yankos?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
They're like that. That's the team that they are. There you go. They're that team reborn
Not
again.
bad,
right?
Actually, yeah,
Where-
I like that. I like that.
They're literally that team with different flavors, which is funny because it's just another three. It's like another like mix up of like run back G2. I think the team can get pretty spicy, depending on metas. If it and they've got some like quite interesting like personnel.
By the way, just going to
Taylor
put this one out there very quick. This team, if it reaches a point, by the way, where let's just say this team's just playing bad or whatever, this team will not be given any time, by the way. Like, there's no way that it's like, well, it's been a rough start, but we're going to stick it out all year or for 2 years, whatever their contract lengths are. No fucking way. Like, because it was such a controversial team construction, there's just no way you give this team, like, a lot of time, by the way. Not going to happen. But, sorry, go on.
No, it's alright. Like, so they're currently sitting like 2 and 4. They're what's left of their strength of schedule. Let's have a little look. They've got GX, they've got MKOI, and they've got Heretics, and then what else have they got? They've got Lost Ratones, and they've got Shitters. So they've basically got like 50% there. They've got like 2 hard teams, and then a bunch of like things. So they're probably
They'll
going to
probably
end up
scrape into playoffs.
Yeah, so they're going to end something like 4 and 6, 4 and 9. No, not 4 and 9. 4 and 7, something like that. 4 and 7.
Yeah, 4 and 7.
Yeah, you play 10. You play 11 games total, so
Yeah,
before
4
and
and
7 goes
7,
up to 11.
So
yeah.
they're gonna like come in. How have they been? I think we got to see like the beginning of like some good leader games. I've not been really impressed. And no, it's funny. I've actually been more impressed with some. I've been more impressed with like Wonder and
Yeah, Wonder's been their
Skeetons
best
Yeah.
player.
and Jopa.
Yoppa's been
yeah.
good. Yoppa's
Yeah.
actually been
Yeah.
decent.
Mickey's been
look,
shit. Mickey's actually been trash. Like,
So,
holy moly.
I think Mickey X is maybe Mickey's trying to talk in this team, or like I don't know.
Maybe he left his mouse on the Deutschbahn on the way from Cologne. Maybe that's the problem. Just the journey over.
And because they're driving it every day, aren't they?
They're getting the train, I assume.
I look. I don't know whether it's train or whether it's like a local airport thing or whether it's look. But
Or
basically,
helicopter.
they're
or-
traveling. Well, sometimes local airports can actually be cheaper than trains because like it is about a 5-hour trip by train, maybe a bit more actually.
It's basically
also-
the same by plane, though, once you factor in like all the
Yeah.
nonsense either side.
But
though,
like
it's not-
basically right now, because like for those, well, obviously you guys aren't in Berlin, but it's like really frosty and snowy, so that caused a lot of issues with any kind of transport because, yeah, Germany's not great at dealing with snow, despite the fact that it gets a fair amount of it.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and then Mickey X would be a bit shit.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I'm really struggling to like digest these like teams like from week to week to week because the play patterns are just so chaotic and it's like just so like random right now.
Right.
The only thing I would say is like Wonder's probably like one of the best like weak side like tops, and I mean true weak side. Like, oh, and you go.
Because okay, so I agree that it's kind of hard because it's best of one's very chaotic. I think basically if Wonder knows how to take over a game on his pick, he looks great. But I feel like Wonder's big problem because I think actually I don't like him on weak side. I actually think this team is only going to win if Wonder smashes the matchup and knows how to team fight with it. And that raises some issues because it's much easier to play the bot lane than it is to top lane in the current meta. But also, I think that the problem that they have with Wunder, and despite saying this, he is still their best player. The Kennen game was disgusting that he played. He's played some really good games in general. If Wunder doesn't understand how the game is going, he will just keep butting his head against the wall and just die again. Like, there was that one Ambessa game in week 1, which was... It was against Vitality, right? I think it was.
Yeah, I think that was his worst one. And
that was really bad. But like, basically, if things start going wrong, he just butts his head into the wall, and it's just really not good. Because I think Mickey is a similar kind of player, where like they have an idea of how the game should go, and even if it's not going that way, they just don't have that step back and realization. Like they're not very good at kind of heads up play, where they realize this isn't working, we have to try something different. They just die again and try hope that it works.
His TP play was really sick though on Ambessa.
Which one?
Yeah,
Wait, which one?
He's playing top lane and he's trading into the Cassante. And the
Oh,
Cassante
when he
goes to-
triggers the... He basically... He thinks he's going to die, so he puts the roll quest teleport in the tower behind him as CC is heading for him. So the teleport is cancelled, but he still gets the teleport shield, which makes him survive the trade and turn it around. That was pretty sick, you're right.
It was pretty sick. It was... Of many of these plays that I've seen, that was pretty good. It was pretty cool. So shout out to Wonder. He's still got some of that creative energy in him. Mate, the thing is like Wonder's in that weird position where like it could probably be on like a contender as like the 5th best player, or it could be like on like a bad team as like he's still LEC caliber. Like evidently, like so evidently so, and there's so little depth in like top. I know it's gotten better, but like you know what I mean, good proper depth, like not like they're just filling a fucking slot depth. So yeah, mate, SK Gaming is just so uninspiring right now. This team has just got so much to like work on because like the depth of play that I need to begin to see to them before I even start like considering them, they really are just like a very rudimentary. They're not even an exciting bad team, by the way.
Yeah.
This always frustrates me. It was like when I talked about fucking. It's like when I talked about BDS. I was like, if BDS just stayed on course with the 1-1-3 team and Knock, and I was like, and if they just like stuck to it, I was like, I said that I was like, I will promise you, I cannot guarantee you'll go to Worlds, but you might can stay in the same place you are right now, but you will not remain like a bad team, because I could see the week to week improvements of the team. And yeah, they were gradual, and yeah, it was like some stuff was still sloppy, but they were actually getting better. SK Gaming inspires nothing, and I don't see where the gradual improvements are, apart from like Leader expands his champion pool, MKOI stops inting, what they call it, Schemes is able to leverage more as a carry, Yopa just like does more damage, like just like his hands click better. It's just, these are such ethereal like concepts, because they've not even got those tied down. So how can I be like, yeah, they're Dragon Dance? The way they like set up vision on the pre-thing is like, oh no, their top laner's 1-4 on Kled, so they're not gonna have any access to River. So there you go.
I mean, the thing with SK, which I think is like that, is exactly that, is I don't see the path where they get massively better at the video game. Like the biggest delta is just, well, Mickey's obviously not going to stay this bad, most likely. Like he'll get a bit better, like surely, at least a bit better. You hope, unless he has actually, unless this literally was just his retirement plan the whole time. That it's like, I am going to make a team with my friends and I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't necessarily believe that, or at least I don't believe it yet. We'll wait and see. I assume Mickey will get better. So there will be some improvement just by virtue of Mickey getting better. But that aside, what are we waiting for? As you said, like, Leader increasing his champion pool, like that's obviously a meme at this point. Like people were saying that about Leader in 2017. So that's not a thing that's ever going to happen. Like that's just not going to happen. Until I see it happen, I don't believe it will happen. And then everything else is
just
like...
one fun fact on that, by the way, because a lot of people are talking about like Leader on Rise. I think a lot of people have skipped the fact that when Leader first came into like just the relevant scene. He was like a Yasuo Rise 2 trick.
Yeah.
Rise has always been his champion pick.
Yeah.
So it's
He's
a
always
mistake
just
to say
Rise,
that that's like a mage which he has picked up. I've seen people say that. He's always been a Rise player. That's one of the champions he's always played.
Yeah, one of the only like mage players that he's obviously he's typically like melee in your face champs, but yeah, Rise was always in his wheelhouse. But yeah, I mean, there's just no, and again, it's like Wonder, obviously all-time great player, still LEC caliber, but he's not exactly on an upward trajectory, and it would seem very unlikely that he will randomly go on an upward trajectory. So it's like, how much can I squeeze from each of these stones? Skeens has been around forever. How much am I going to be able to squeeze from that stone? Maybe a bit, because he doesn't have that much LEC experience. So you're really hoping Skeens gets super comfortable and starts playing at a really good level. By the way, he's playing fine. I'm not saying he's playing bad at all, but, you know, keeps going and plays even better. And that Yopper gets very comfortable and used to LEC, and he also finds a better level. But these are all such, like, speculative...
Here's the needle on these players, and this is the problem of Europe. Who is Wonder and MKOI teaching to take their place? Let me put it this way, right? Wonder, at one point in time, was a top 3, top 2, top 1 top laner in the world. Now
2019 MSI, he was arguably the best player in the world, which is a position which never an EU player has never held that since. I don't think.
What do you call it? Now we say stuff like, is he top 5 EU top lane? It's like, okay, MKOI was a top 3, top 2, top 1 support player in the world. Now it's like, okay, is he top 4, top 3, top 2, top 1 in Europe? That needle is so fucking like inverse. So who is the people on this team, right, that's going to be the top 1, top 2, top 3? Because you can say stuff like, okay, you don't always need a star player. Did MKOI when they beat G2? Did they? Right. They had Elyoya won multiple titles, okay? They had Jojo Pion, NA, like multiple titles, and they had two other skilled players. One person who transformed themselves completely in Merwin, right? And then they had like a ADC who's like anyone knew like super was skilled. It's like, it's not like they've done it with fucking bums. You know what I mean? Like, so I just don't see it. Like, where does this team end up being the best team? Because that's, by the way, that's the metric here.
Yeah,
This team being the.
I mean, also something just an interesting side point based on like the first statement you made, which is like, you know, where is like the talent transfer between like players in Europe? Like I was just thinking as you were talking then, like the only one I can think of, and it's not even a European thing, where you've had like a legitimately top tier player at one point in time who's like gone on to sort of inspire and have a direct impact on other players' careers is Nuke Duck in NA. Like,
that's
in the East, you know, you get people like Score, Matter, like people who are like legendary tier players who then go on to be like really good coaches and actually actively improve their charges. Like in Europe, has it ever happened? It probably has. I'm probably not thinking of someone who's gone on to do something like that. But yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting.
The guy on Rogue, hilariously, Freddy, was at one point like a top 3 top laner. N-rated was at one
2014,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, N-rated was the best support in Europe at one point.
Yeah.
He was the best support player of all time from Europe at one point in time.
Yeah, and neither of them did any. I know Freddie won a split, but maybe I'm on an island on that. But I think that I still think that lineup is underachievers.
Freddie never won a split unless he was a coach.
No, you know what I'm saying. As a coach, he was a top player, and then he won a split as a coach. But to me, I don't want to call it fraudulent, but I think that lineup should have won like 3 titles. But
so you like, you know, I mean, depending on your view, he actually underperformed. Like, and then the thing is like, did he like make those like play? There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
but that's my concern. Nymaera, I don't know if when you look at this SK lineup, and I'm not wanting to just diss them in terms of like, I'm happy that Skeens is here, doing good, playing well. I'm happy Yopa's here, doing well, playing fine. I feel like it's a bit of like a hard end of the bargain. You've joined these teams, and then the players who are supposed, you know, you're playing with MKOI. You know what I mean? Fucking MKOI, and I don't know. For me, not holding up his end of the bargain.
Mickey's look really not good, really not good. And the thing which is really worrying me about this team is that, like I said, you can see it in Wonder, despite it being him being their best player. I think it's very easy for SK to just not see how the game is meant to be played with their draft, and just not see how the game is meant to be played in general. And like, they're realm warping Mickey into the backline, and there's just no follow-up in time. I'm like, if you're not on the same page for this stuff, why the fuck is this the group that you were asking to play together? presumably you should see the game in a similar way. Presumably you think
point.
that
Yes.
you're going to be achieving something with the synergy that you couldn't find elsewhere. Because Fnatic last year was a better team than this. You could have potentially even stayed on Fnatic. I don't know if things have worked out differently in the offseason, I suppose. And then Mickey said that he suggested Wonder and Leader. He went to KCorp and suggested that to them as well, as you mentioned. There is evidence to suggest maybe he's put feelers out for that before in previous teams he was on in the past as well. This is the roster you've wanted for what we consider now to be a long time. How the hell is the synergy not there? Surely that should have been at a way better base level. If you're gonna potentially tank your reputation this much, how is this the result that's coming in? Now, maybe they'll build up to it, but you'd assume that they wouldn't have to build up to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming it on Skeens, and I'm not blaming it on Yoppa, because I think those two are actually playing fine. I think they're playing fine. It is actually the three players. I mean, Leader, I think, has been, not great. He's been not great. That Aurelion Sol game versus Caps was just a train wreck, for instance, this is just, all this is doing for me is just reducing my opinion of Mickey's reputation, sadly.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that, as you said, pro players are no different from, I assume a lot of people who watch this are obviously gamers themselves or whatever, whether it's casual gaming or games like League. And there may be people that you want to play with in general who you're like, oh, if I want to get elo in this game, I'll play with this friend because they're good at the game or whatever. But I think most people in life just find themselves defaulting back to the people that they enjoy playing with, also because they feel like they have a similar view. They view the games through a similar lens and they have the same sort of objectives, or they seek fun through the same prisms or whatever. What's funny is, like, as I said, with pro players, it's exactly the same, but everything's scaled up, right? Because these are all, relative to the general public, elite players. So to me, it's baffling that these people who definitely spend time with each other, like in off seasons or just maybe when they're not scrimming or whatever, playing League or, even other games and talking about League and other games, don't seem to have a shared vision. Like, that to me is baffling, because I've even experienced this myself. Like, I've always played like competitive FPS games, but I always default back to playing with people who view the game in the same way that I do. If there's a team or a player who's like, I want to play super passive and never engage fights, and I want to play Battle Royale and crawl into the circle and just survive for as long as possible, I'm not going to play with that person. I'm going to play with the person who gets in a car and sends it into the fucking middle of the map instantly, fights whoever there, take the main building, and then just try and fight everyone until the game's over. So I play with people who do the same thing. Like, so to me, it's very weird that there is no identity on this team at all, because surely that was the one thing we were going to get is, okay, cool, a team of friends who all play the same video game.
And it might be a flawed identity, but the synergy will make it worthwhile.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it's both flawed and the synergy's not there. So what are we doing?
Yeah. And as I said, I think the bottom line here as well is that I don't see a good ceiling to this team. Can they be a bit better? Yes, they can, because Joppa is new to the league, Skeens hasn't played that much in the league, and Mickey will surely get better at some point. But it still feels like, barring Joppa being,
by the way, they should
god.
still get playoffs,
Yes.
though. They should, because they've played enough of the hard teams that they have easier schedule now, but they're not going to be a threat in playoffs, not at this rate.
No, I'd agree with that. Anyway, moving on. Speaking about a team who will definitely be a threat in playoffs, and probably the best looking team right now, if we're going on performances, KC. I think that's probably fair to say at this point. Last week, you guys, obviously, we deliberately didn't talk about KC in too much depth, because, again, it was a team that I think needed a little bit more time before discussing. But we did talk a little bit about how we liked their drafting, how maybe that was some of the better drafts that were being done in the league on KC side. But in general, how are you feeling about this team now, Keire, that you've seen them play a bit more? Do you feel like they look like the best team? Are you impressed by mid? What are your thoughts on KC? I think Yike's playing really fucking well, by the way, bar one or two games.
Yeah, like Yike would be like an MVP candidate if there wasn't another jungler in the league right now. Just like basically how I conform to like MVP in terms of consistency. It's very much like the other team, just basically asked for a more stable mid. Actually, the thing is like not a lot's changed. Like, I don't think like Busu's really like playing that great. It's mainly just that like his picks are like pretty incredible. Like, you know, I think his best game is probably the Alistair game against G2.
His Bard game was pretty good too. But the Alistair
Yeah,
game was probably his best. Yeah, you're right.
but yeah, the Alistair game is probably the best game. Kalist just continues to just be the like an absolute phenom. Just like he just like continues to absolute steamroll the league. I think Kehu, what was that? I'm trying to think what was his best game. The Rise game
Okay,
probably.
the Rise is
Yeah.
good. I will say, actually, like his first game versus KCB, I was actually fairly impressed with that. Where like he like solo kill. I mean, like technically the worst team in the league, but like I think that his reactions on his were really good. He got like a solo kill onto Camille, set up another 2 kills onto him, safe DPS. Who's like his one bad game was obviously versus JoJo, but I think besides that, he's been actually been very solid. He's just playing the role which he's been given, but he's been really solid, I think.
Like I'm just refreshing my memory here for like KCorp because then they played Navi, which is the other like team, and yeah, it was really good. I'm not as much of a fan of the Leona, but it's like a real all-in dive comp, so like yeah, like I would probably prefer just not to have the Azir and have the mid laner be an engaged hero and just have an enchanter on support or just put an enchanter mid, like whatever. Like I don't really see the point in the Azir, but you probably just find that Keire just wants to play Azir, so it's whatever. Yeah, like they just can basically the principles we talked about last time just continue. Um, Pretty good team fighting, excellent laning, very stable map. Farming jungle just allowed to farm. Really nice, like pretty good drafting, 85% drafting, like it a lot. Uh, I think the only thing I don't like is the indexing it too much into Azir. I think Azir's just not game one F tier pick right now. Some teams around
It
the world
is
seem
it
to.
is in some LCK teams because they know the Orianna Azir matchup so well that it works very well. But unless you are very good at Azir matchup, not worth it.
Unless you're literally Faker Trophy
Yep.
BDD.
DDD.
It's
Yep.
not F tier because those people literally are like they can literally just beat any team in the world on that champion. I like literally win world championships on that champion. But you're not that guy. I refuse to believe it. Like
Mm.
you should be making stuff that picking stuff that makes your life easier. I don't think Azir Azir looks like the least contributing champion to these wins. Is my point. You know what I mean? It just happens to be Azir in the game. I feel like other things could contribute better. But yeah, I'm impressed.
But
Need
just
to see more from series.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Nymaera, what are your thoughts on KC? I also guess, like in particular, with the Busio thing, because as Keire said, it's. I think the general consensus was he was the best Western support in in the world or whatever last year, and I actually think he's been perfectly fine. But I guess yeah,
I think it's been good.
he hasn't set the world on fire or anything. But do you think that what you've seen so far from KC, would they now be your current sort of favorites at this point? If you
Well,
had to
yeah,
pick?
because G2's completely shit the bed, and like Fnatic will inevitably fall apart in playoffs. Like GX are again another like half the teams in this fucking league are ones which just never deliver on a promise. GiantX have never delivered on a promise. Fnatic fall apart every playoffs. Vitality are the largest like talent farm waste in the entirety of European like history at this point. Like SK's completely fallen apart with a team with a promise as well. So basically, G2 have started slow, and MKOI did beat them individually. That's the one thing. However, I do think that MKOI look a lot more fallible when they don't have Nymaera. I think if you take that away from them, I think that one of their more practiced ways to play mid-game, which is effectively just super hits 2 items, then chunks someone out with ult, falls away. And I think that they look a lot more fallible when that champion is gone. I think that I do have some issues with Casey's early game. I think that the early game movements are not as good as the meta will need at some point. I think that the meta right now, and I've seen this globally, it favors dominant 2v2 bot lane with a jungler playing off of that as a platform to get bot side scuttle and or a jungle invade through bot side. Typically best when you're on blue side because it's much easier to invade into enemy bot side jungle when you're on blue side, which is actually why that can be important. Funnily enough, I think KC were like one of the few teams. They were the only team in LEC, I think, to pick side selects over first pick this weekend. I want to say that was true. I think they might have done that versus
Please,
Na'Vi.
please tell me that's not true. Please.
I think KC did that, and tell you what, that was one of the funniest moments on broadcast because it happened, and they had Dracos like to go interview people, and they interviewed the coach as he was coming off stage. It's like, why did you pick side select? And the coach just went, "Why do you think?" He just gave a completely non-answer because there's absolutely no way he's going to answer that on camera if there was a special reason. So he goes, "Why do you think that?" It's like, "Oh, it's very interesting. You tell me." That was honestly one of my favorite moments that week because Dracos is like, "Ah, fuck, you got me," pretty much, which is really funny.
Absolute
Oh, my God.
banter, just absolute like just absolute tomfoolery. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that Casey's early game is probably the point where you exploit them the most. I think that you know, they tried the Caitlyn lane versus MKOI, which was working well up until the one pressure valve happens and suddenly the game just ends, which is the problem with the Caitlyn. You make one mistake and the game just kind of explodes. But basically, once Busio is unlocked from lane, this happens with all the top teams in the world right now, and I think this could apply to KC. We'll see if they'll sustain themselves as a top team, right? But this applies to T1. This applies to teams like BLG when they play the style as well. Basically, once you gank bot lane or get control of bot side and your support gets to roam, you are just everything is an option for you. And I think that Busio is very good at playing around that. You know, his bard is very good. Clearly, he's one of the best bards, like in the West. Probably is the best bard in the West. His Alice is very solid as well. I think he's been fairly creative, but I do think that KC are quite a slow team. And that will come to bite them at some point. There's only so many teams which are going to play into you, and you will have to be able to make your own proactive moves. This is something that we saw last year as well. They were happier to play a slower early game. The best teams in the world right now are all very proactive. And this is something that we saw at the end of last year. KC were better in a slower meta where they could scale into 5v5s, quite a slow back to front team fight where they could kind of like take multiple rotations in a team fight. The meta is not perfect for that right now. So the thing which I'll need to see from KC, particularly once we hit series play later on, is getting Busio and Yike more proactive on the map earlier, which I don't know will be their specialty. But for now, I think that Keire is just by far the best player in the league for me. Keire is a fucking monster. And that's holding them steady. I don't think there's any... Well, we saw Broken Blade try to lease into it, and it just completely flopped. It was just... It got a bit of a CS lead and then did nothing the rest of the game. I think Keire is such a good top laner right now that it's going to be quite hard for KC to lose many games.
I don't know what you think, Keire, but I think Nymaera sounds completely delusional. Keire? I thought he meant wonder. What are we talking about here?
Oh, shut up.
Come on. Guys, can we just replace the best player in the league for my friend, please? Like, come on.
Okay, all right there, Richie X.
Come on. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk a bit about the Giants versus MKOI game because I think going off what you was talking about at the start of your sort of soliloquy there, I thought it was quite interesting about teams letting you down or not living up to promises. Could this be a potential flashpoint game? Because hear me out. So obviously we all had MKOI in our top three. I believe me and Keire had them third, and you had them second, if I'm not mistaken. Nymaera, I think.
What did I have? Yeah, something
MKOI.
like that. Yeah.
MKOI. Anyway, did I say KC? I meant MKOI. Anyway, right. So they were sort of on the periphery for me. Obviously, you know, I think we all had G2 as our fairly firm favorites, and then it's like KC and MKOI sort of in that pack of like, can they be real contenders and push? And we felt probably they can. But obviously, that's not like a locked-in, guaranteed position. Whereas Giants are like a tier below that, and you don't really believe that they're going to be contenders or whatever. But I thought this game was interesting because I thought it highlighted quite a lot of MKOI's weaknesses or doubts, let's say. Because, for example, Alvaro, I wouldn't consider a weakness. I think that would be a gross characterization. But he has looked pretty ropey, I would say, overall for a while now, or inconsistent at best.
Since midway through summer, yeah.
Yeah, bleeding unfortunately into the start of this split as well. So yeah, Nymaera, what were your thoughts on this game, and I guess the current trajectory of both teams, or how you feel about both teams after this game and these 2 weeks?
Give the easy one. Noah is the best AD carry in LEC right now. It's either him or Upset. I think that Noah. Maybe I'd say Upset because I think Noah has the better support in Jun, but I think GX have an incredibly good bot lane. I think they have a really, really good bot lane. And I think right now the meta is quite bot-centric because you really want to gank bot lane, get ahead for the reasons we said before. Also stuff like getting ahead in terms of the role quest through bot lane is a really, really big power points. I am a little bit worried for the solo laners. I think Jackie's is continuing to have quite a poor run of form in LEC to the point where I'm worried that this might. To be honest, I think if I were GM of GX, I think this would be Jackie's last split in LEC unless he has a massive turnaround. He's been the weak link of GX, I think, in almost every game so far. Isma's pretty fine at pulling the trigger. I think he's been doing pretty well with Jun, actually. That's one of the things which we didn't like from last year, was actually it felt like one of them was going in and then no one else was following up, something like that. Lot's been bit iffy as well. Again, not fantastic. So it really does come down to mainly Noah just being incredibly good. Noah's been very good, and when you compare that to, when was the year that he was throwing everything on Fnatic? 24, right? Well, like 24 was just like really, really bad for him, where he was in huge leads and just couldn't carry with it. He's much more consistent with that now, and I think he's playing champions which are just really good for the meta, just good champions in general. You know, his Kais is very, very good, but the Caitlyn Elise, which was a BLG special from last year, was really, really impactful for them. And yeah, I think once Noah got ahead, I think MKOI with this draft basically had zero backline access apart from a shuffle. So they kind of drafted themselves a comp which just could not deal with the Caitlyn. Caitlyn got mega fed and they couldn't deal with it. So I don't know whether MKOI would have been able to just shut down a single carry with a better comp to actually shut down a single carry. But it definitely wasn't helping them, only having a Trundle pillar in his ear shuffle, and that's it. That's all they can do. So I think it was a bit of a draft diff, and Noah is really quite good at League of Legends, and Jun is obviously a very, very competent support as well.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this team, that team being GiantX, is so far it does kind of look almost exactly how we described it, which isn't, you know, to say we're Nostradamus or something, because this is the same team as they previously had. But basically, the bot lane looks really good. Isma is very serviceable and a massive improvement on how he looked on SK, but how high is his ceiling? And that maybe would be a concern if the solo laners weren't bigger concerns. I think Lot's been okay-ish. I think he's been, like, okay. Jackie's, I think, has been pretty crap. And the thing that he had one good game. I can't remember what game. Was it G2? Did he play well against G2? I can't remember.
Sorry, say again?
Jackie's. He had one good game this split. No, it wasn't G2. Who was it? I can't remember. Anyway, but my overall takeaway on Jackie's is, what's disturbing to me is Jackie's looks bad in most of the losses, but he also looks bad in most of the wins. Like, he doesn't seem to be, like, allowing himself to even be carried particularly well, which is a problem. And I agree. I don't really, after this many splits, I just don't see a direction forward with Jackie's. That's not me, you know, calling for anyone's job or whatever. For all I know, the guy's being forced to play picks he hates at gunpoint. I have no idea or context. But as an outsider, yeah, it doesn't look great. Yeah, Keire, what did you make of this matchup? And yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on KOI as well?
Oh, Jackie's had a pretty good game versus the Rats, actually. Like, his Yone versus Lost Ratones is pretty good. But yeah.
Hey, G2, LR, potato. Yeah, Keire, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I understand, like, Nymaera's concern in terms of, like, the lack of engage. I think the biggest, like, the big draft fumble for me there is Merwin just being on the Renekton when that.
And it was a bad Renekton as well.
Yeah, but I think that just quite easily can be like an Ornn, or like, could it be a Malphite? Yeah, it could also be a Malphite.
No, that's probably banned in one of those games, wasn't it? Malphite's just like permaban, isn't it?
No, it wasn't banned. It's Jace Rumble, Varus.
Hang on, which game?
GiantX and Movistar Koi game. Malphite's not banned. They could have picked Malphite top. No.
Yeah, fair.
You know, I mean, like, I'm just like spitball. You know, what I mean, like, I'm like, you need an. You don't need. You always. Okay, I'll just go through it again. I don't think Azir is good enough to justify playing into a counter matchup every single time. You know what I mean? Like, Jackie is probably competent enough at Tilia, and if you like, you prioritize the Azir, because they go for Nymaera 1 so that Super can have it, and then they go Caitlyn Vi, and then they go Azir Renekton.
The Renekton, the Azir.
Yeah, it's just you can't pick those two champions.
I think it's fine. I actually think this is fine. Like the top lane match, Renekton gets like full control. You end up getting the Trundle versus the like single threat dive. Either the Xante gets ulted or the Vi gets ulted. So I think actually top side ends up being okay because I actually don't mind Azir into Talir. It's fine. I think it's fine. My problem is basically towards the end of the draft, it's like you cannot kill the Caitlyn. You only kill the first person into the fight, and the Caitlyn is still alive. That's a huge fucking problem.
I hate it more, Nymaera, because so much more of Azir's DPS is inside his combination spells, not his soldier DPS. Azir, when like Faker used to play it, right, and Knight would play the Talia, right, a lot of Azir's damage was in the soldier placement, in terms of like the soldiers, 1, 2, 3 soldiers, and you're basically an APC in the backline.
You
now
still
more
kind of are.
Yeah, but more of Azir's damage is way more now into the Q, shuffle, and R. They've taken a lot of damage out of the soldiers over the past couple of years.
It's actually not in the Q, it's all in ER. ER got the increased ratios and stuff like that. But his main soldier, so it's basically like his shuffle. It is basically where he gets his damage. So
and that's the component of it that Talia is the best against.
I still look basically when I've seen this across the world, it's like a 10 CS difference than it's about how you play in team fights. I actually don't care about this matchup too much. I think it's fine. If anything, I've seen Azir play better around the front to backs after, unless Talia has a really good combo. In this case, you do have a couple of places you can do it. But I put it this way: this isn't what loses you the game. The Azir. In fact, the Azir is actually the only win condition they have this game. I think.
Yeah, like I don't know, like
I do accept the point. I think that you can cause issues with the Azir. For instance, like if you pick a really good Ziggs comp into Azir, he just can't play the game. You know, he can't play the game. But I think this one is fine personally.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just not very inspiring. Noah June do like the BLG special, accelerate through the bot lane. They eventually just like take over the map. The vision pockets start collapsing. The person that you have to like send forward as a sacrificial dog to like face check just starts exploding as they like try and move back out into the map. I don't know. I was this Movistar game. The funniest thing ever is the person that you actually want face checking is probably the Trundle. I don't think the Trundle ever dies this game.
No, Trundle gets exploded by Caitlyn, at least. Like, yeah, Trundle actually really hates playing against this.
Yeah,
if you
I know.
end up getting hit by Cocoon,
yeah,
you die.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, he hates this, but he never dies.
Oh, sorry. I thought he said. I don't know. I feel like just MKOI just can't interact unless you have like a mega flank or like the Yunara gets ahead and can burst out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just trying to look at like how you don't end up in this situation. Because I think if you have MKOI's players, you'd never really end up in this situation. It's crazy to me that this like kind of happens. Like,
yeah, especially with how creative drafters they happen in the past. I don't think they're that ahead of the meta here.
So like on you go, Rich.
No, I was gonna say like I think that what Keire was talking last week about G2 actually applies even more so to KOI here. We talked about how like G2 have their like grandiose ambitions to, you know, do well internationally and blah blah blah, and we banged on about how you cannot waste splits, you cannot waste game weeks or whatever. And for me, I'm a bit disappointed in MKOI. It's not like their record's horrendous or something like that, but I was hoping a team that stayed completely together in terms of the lineup and was, you know, a top 3 team for the whole of last year would look better coming into this split than they do. I think they look okay. They look fine. They've had a couple of very decent games, but I don't feel like they look as good as KC, for example, who obviously have a myriad of lineup changes. And to me, that's a little bit worrying. I think in theory, right, this is the point. In theory, the best 2 teams at the very start of this split should be G2 and MKOI. I think for sure. And like, but the thing is with G2, even though G2 have probably looked worse than MKOI or whatever, like, we do give them the leeway, whether we should or we shouldn't. And as I said, that's no excuse for them wasting games or game weeks or whatever. Like, they have enough credibility in the bank where we're like, well, at some point, like by the end of the split, they'll be in the final or thereabouts. Like, and I'm not saying MKOI won't, but I think this should apply even more to MKOI. Whatever your ambitions are for this year, I really feel like they should have got off to a super hot start and established themselves at the start of this split as like indisputably one of the absolute best teams. And I don't feel like they've done that. And I also think they were a team who had more question marks than G2, certainly domestically at least, in terms of like things they needed to shore up or whatever. And to me, if anything, there's just, I don't know, even maybe a few more. I almost have more concerns or question marks at this point. Like, Alvaro wasn't really a question mark for me going into this year because I just thought that, you know, that summer playoffs was an anomaly, for example, and that things would get better and that previously he'd been very consistent. But to me, he looks, I'm not saying he looks that bad, but I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm also a little bit concerned with Merwin, and I also worry about, for someone who doesn't have an exceptionally high skill ceiling, how figured out at this point is Merwin, and when he's trying to pull off things more conventionally, like the Renekton, it doesn't look good to me at this point. Again, it's all BO1s, it's super early on or whatever, but I really hope
I think his Cassandra looks good, but that's about it. Remember, he's got
Yeah.
that coaching to kick in as well from Alfari, I suppose.
I can look good on Cassandra, Nymaera, so, you know. He doesn't get points for that one. That's a lie, by the way. I'm fucking terrible at the game and
You
terrible at
muted
Cassandra.
Keire, by the way. I saw you trying to chime in there.
Anyway.
Can you, Rich, though?
No,
You?
I'm dog shit. Anyway, the point is, I'd hope they would be a bit better. But maybe we're just greedy. Maybe we're just a bit greedy. Speaking of greed and hoping for a lot and not getting too much, let's talk about Vitality. An interesting team.
There's nothing wrong with Vitality.
No,
No,
I agree, Keire. This is all part of the building process. We're whittling out all the little mistakes now. We're building synergy and camaraderie, and we're heading for the moon. We're heading for the moon. But yeah, Keire, let's kick us off then. Let's start. What are your thoughts on Vitality so far, now that we've seen 2 weeks of gameplay?
Hey, Vitality look exactly how I expect them to look.
What is
You-
that?
you- When you call a bunch of filthy interns, when you call it trying to win games of League of Legends. Are you not entertained? Like,
They are
did you guys...
easily the most fun team to watch in the league right now, for better or worse. Whatever, I mean, for a masochist.
Who was the team that used to hold the title of Razor Cake? Was that Rogue?
Rogue.
Was it
Rogue.
Well, Vitality had been the Razor Cake for like the last 3 years now.
No,
This
but the
team-
Vitality Razor Cake goes all the way back to like 2016 with Nuke Duck and.
No,
shit
they
like...
had like one good year with like the
Yeah,
20.
No,
but
they've been-
Rogue,
they've been
but
making-
Rogue were
bro, they've
always
been making-
good, though. That's the thing. They were
Yeah,
good
but
then,
they-
underperformed.
yeah,
This
but
team's
that'll be
just
making
fucking...
That'll be making super teams since 2016.
Yeah.
With
Okay,
like
but-
fucking Cabo Shard and Nuke Duck.
Okay,
and
well, in that case,
Keire.
folks,
Yarnan and
I need to get like a benchmark for this, folks. I genuinely believe Vitality have been the most wasteful, have been the organization that has wasted the most talent in European history.
Hell yeah.
Discuss.
No, I mean...
I don't think it's close.
But it's not...
H2K was pretty disgusting. They had Yankos Forgiven and Auto Amne,
Whoa,
and they
whoa,
didn't win a
whoa.
split, right? That's
Whoa,
all
whoa,
I'm gonna
whoa,
say.
Hey, there was no VAR back then, Keire. We were robbed at every turn.
If only it was 5.6k.
Exactly. Hey, when Vitality make a world semi-final after conquering the mighty Albus Nox, then we can talk, okay? Then we can talk.
Hey, on a more serious note, yeah, a candidate at a minimum. At
I
a
mean,
minimum.
by the way, just to answer Nymaera's question, it's not just, I mean, they're literally wasteful, as in the net spend of Vitality has been a joke. The ambition has been... This is the thing, though. Is it actually ambitious if you just have loads of money and you're like, I'm going to go after loads of expensive players, but don't actually put any, you know, thought or planning or consider things like synergy? Like, is that really ambition? To me, that's just like trust fund kid tries to buy success and fails. Like, I don't even class that as ambition. I feel like ambition has to have some level of like, I don't know, logic, work ethic, like sensible things put together.
Let me just change
and...
the definition of ambition so
Hey.
it fits what I need it to be for
Yes,
this particular
exactly,
moment.
exactly.
And then it can return to being the word that it's always been.
Well, ambitious
Right.
is too loaded with positive connotations, right?
Oh,
Whereas
okay.
I don't think Vitality deserve any positive connotations for what they've done over the years, at least holistically. I'm not saying every decision has been garbage, but yes, they are easily the most wasteful team. And if you consider also what players they've had and what those players have done on other teams, just as an example, I mean, Kazi was an LEC champion off Vitality. Labrov is an LEC champion of Vitality.
Humanoid
Is Nelly. I mean, we can't say Humanoid, right? Because they might win it this year, Nymaera. We don't know. The jury's out on that one. But the point is, they do feel like an org you go to for your career to die, or at least go on hiatus. So yeah, they are definitely wasteful. But no, come on, Nymaera, talk to me then about this beautiful team.
I feel very, very bad for Mr. Narco. I feel bad for him. I don't really know where to start with them. I don't really know where to start. I think that some of their drafts have been nigh on like nonsensical. I think Humanoid plays very disconnected from the rest of the map in a way that we've seen before, and it's led to a lot of deaths. And I think that leads to a twofold problem. I think probably the two most important things to do in the current meta are have an proactive support in some way. I don't trust Fleshy to do that. And then I think you need to have a mid laner which provides pressure and then spreads it around the map. That's why we're seeing so many counter matchups in mid lane, stuff like the Anivia and Cassiopeia into the Rise, because it stops that pressure. It's one of the ways where you can stop those globals coming through. And while Humanoid has had some okay pushing lanes early, he almost always dies on the push. And I think that sets behind Vitality. In this meta, that's just not a way you can play around the game. Knock has been fine. I think he's been fine. He's not doing well enough to like carry the team now by himself. He's not exactly getting himself, too many creative matchups in the top lane. And the bot lane has been okay, but nothing special, I don't think, when it comes to laning phase. I mean, they had the one game versus SK Gaming where Kazi just went completely apeshit and he just went crazy on it. But yeah, I just don't see the hallmarks of what makes a good team in this meta, which is pressure mid laner, which then spreads out to the rest of the map, and then a creative support that roams across it. I think actually they've been two of the worst underperforming members. And then you have stuff like, Linz is just getting manhandled by Razork. What can you do about that? If Razork's having a good game, and Linz gets caught with it, you're obviously behind there too. So I don't know. I don't think this team's playing out its early games as well as I'd like to see, and I don't see who is providing that map support for this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, the question, there was always going to be a question mark over Fleshy coming into this year as well. I think the biggest issue this team has right now is, unsurprisingly, stability as well. It seems shock horror, a bit chaotic. I don't think Linsus has as firm enough a grip on early game as he needs to have, especially when Fleshy isn't exactly playing out of his skin from a jungle support perspective as well. So to me, that's like a very big issue. And then, yeah, Humanoid is obviously soft inting, let's say, in a lot of these games. I think Kazi's been all right, been fine. Nako, it's really hard because, as I said, whenever I watch Vitality, I don't feel like I am identifying the patterns of what's happening. Part of that is because Humanoid is getting caught out of position quite a lot, which obviously changes your jungler's pathing, for example. But I feel like when you watch KC, this split, for example, you can basically see Yike's jungle path like before it even happens. You're like, okay, he's here, he's going to go here, he's going to do this, and then he's going to end up on top side, and he's going to reset and do this. I feel like when I watch Vitality, I have no idea what they're doing, by the way. Like, actually, I genuinely have no idea what's happening in their games. And I think Nako is not the best player to have when that is a situation, or he's not a player who can do particularly well when the rest of the map is in complete chaos, when his game style is kind of like meant to be controlled chaos, right? So yeah, I think that's like a very big issue. But I mean, Keire, what do you think needs to happen on this team for them to become, the fully blossomed flower that we hope they will end up as?
Time. Okay, I'll go through them. I think Nako, he's the player that needs the least to change. Basically, it's just like Nako's just got to keep on bringing up that floor. Realize that he's got to be quite responsible with his leads. The team's not as stable as maybe he needs it to be. Base more the game around himself. I think he needs to be more demanding. I think Nako should probably be one of the most demanding players in LEC. He should be asking for the ball every game. And I think Linsas and Humanoid should be giving him the ball. I think Linsas has been a mixed bag. some like really good like farming, yet covering lanes. Team fighting's just not great though. I just not for the whole time he's been in LEC, it's just not been great. He's engaged. I never want to see him ever play another game of fucking Jarvan in my life. I think that champion sucks absolute fucking cockles unless you've got like Ziggs and an Orianna in the game.
Oh, by the
It's
way,
really good in first draft of a series because there are so many champions which combo up with like Rumble Oriana, but that I don't think it's good deeper into a series.
I
But we
don't-
obviously are all best ones here.
I mean, this is like complete like pleb take or whatever, but Jarvan is like one of those champions that I feel has just been totally aged out of the game and is maybe just almost like grandfathered into people's like sort of core original understanding of how they thought about League. Because if Jarvan came out today, people would be like, this champion fucking sucks. Basically every
No.
I
No, I think what you're missing here is he's kind of got like that old like he's kind of got like that old Ezreal like thing to him, or like Varus thing from like season 3, where like his kit has a lot of like hidden utility that like when it all like compounds together, it's very potent. Like for example, like E is 30% attack speed on 5 champs. Now, if like 3 champs use that attack speed, it's like a Phantom Dancer's.
This is like if you have a Zir Jarvan, oh my god, it's so
like,
broken.
Yeah, so like you drop down your E, you use the attack speed, your mid laner uses that, and let's just say your ADC does on a conservative basis, right? So that's like 90% attack speed. There's like 2,600 gold and a spell, right? And it also has like it gives vision. So like the E when you drop it, right, lets you check bushes for setups. So you know what I mean? Like it's really hard to vision stack, and then obviously it turns into a stun. So when you place it,
Knockup.
it's
now it's not even a stun. It's because tenacity doesn't work against it. It's a knockup.
It's a knockup actually. Yeah, so it's even stronger. Then like I know I'm going to just kind of reading through the abilities, but like also some people who maybe don't know, his like Q has percentage max armor rend on it. Right?
So it's a black cleaver. Yeah.
So it's a black cleaver. So you hit someone with a Jarvan Q, you've black cleavered them. Like they lose a quarter of their armor.
Like Wukong Q does similar, but yeah.
I mean, I'm more thinking from the perspective of his literal mechanical kit. I feel is like hard to get. He to me feels like a champion that came out on the original release. Like I think that most of the champions in the game, to some extent, counter Jarvan, and I think that he has never been reworked in a way like, yeah, they changed values on his skills and stuff like that, as they do with all junglers because the camps and stuff change, so you have to anyway. But I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like, again, as I said, maybe it's just a pleb take. I feel like he's too predictable and easy to play against. That's what it feels like.
This is the thing. It really depends who the enemy carries are. So you if you look at the carries that, see, he played 2 games of Jarvan, right? In week 2, I don't think he played anything in game 1 with it at week 1. So against Shifters, they did win this game, but even then, I actually don't think it's a great draft. What I think it is a takeaway from Rumble on the other side, because Rumble Jarvan is a disgusting combo. If you're playing into Swain, basically, you ask yourself a question of, if I Cataclysm the enemy carries, what happens? Now, against Shifters, there's a Swain and a Corki. Corki jumps out of the Cataclysm and then bursts you. Not a good thing. Corki's actually quite good versus Jarvan. Swain stands there, doesn't give a damn, and regens off of you. Not good either, so that's not really a good use of that. Reminded that also in week 1, Vitality perhaps had the worst draft, I think, of the week, where they... Again, they won both these games, so that they're playing well enough with them. I just don't think the drafts are very good. In week 1, they gave over like 4 S-tier picks, including a Jace jungle against SK, and they somehow walked away with a win, but God knows how that happened. And then against Fnatic, you have Jarvan versus Wukong. Not a great matchup. Wukong's actually quite good. He can pop the Cyclone, so your EQ never actually lands the knockup onto you. And then you're against a Kai'Sa that can fly out of the pit, and you are against an Orianna, which is good. Basically, what you want to be doing with Jarvan in a draft, so we've seen this a lot in LCK and a lot in LPL as well, what you want to be doing is baiting the enemy team into... So say you pick Nymaera, and they at that point have 3 options really, all of which are immobile. If you get Varus, they're going to pick Aphelios, Misfortune, or they're going to pick Or Varus. Those three, right? If you're going to pick those three, if you pick the Yunara, they're going to pick Varus, Misfortune, or Aphelios. All of which horrible against Aphelios. Against the Jarvan, rather, because he can just lock them up in the Cataclysm. Similarly as well, there are a lot of immobile mid laners like stuff like Ryze, Orianna, Syndra, Talia. Even though this Talia is quite good against like dash champions, he can still dunk her in the pit. And then you consider the champions with the Jarvan and meta right now. We already talked about the Azir being very good for the attack speed, but in terms of combos with his ult, you can pick stuff like the Varus or the Misfortune, which are good against things like the Yunara, and they're actually very good with the Cataclysm as well. You have stuff like Rumble in top lane, which is just disgusting. You have Galio, Orianna in mid lane. So there's a ton of combos that you have in solo lanes that work very well. There's a ton of carries which you want to play against. But I think that the problem is, in a lot of drafts, Jarvan has to be taken away from a first pick Rumble or a first pick Varus or a first pick Orianna, because you cannot allow them to have like the Jarvan Orianna combo, which is just ungodly strong. So then you end up with a subpar Jarvan combo trying to deny the best combo from them. So you end up sabotaging your own draft to stop them having the S tier draft. And then sometimes they still get something like a Wukong or a Vi and they're happy with it. So that's my overall take on the Jarvan.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of fixing their draft, it just feels like they could do with something like, I don't know, a coach.
I realized that was a really long yap, by the way.
A coach of coaches,
no,
maybe, Keire, to fix this? What do you reckon? A coach of coaches to help pad out?
Yeah, like obviously, we could all just meme it, but like I'm gonna just continue on with the player thing. So obviously, Humanoid. I don't think Humanoid's been like as good as he was on like Fnatic. He continues to be like a problem child. Just to highlight one thing though, Humanoid is probably the person I've noticed who's actually the best at abusing the current like fast recalls. He is like trading like resources with the enemy mid, and he will be like down like 10 CS, and then all of a sudden he's up like 20, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? But he basically just forced like 3 terrible recalls from them because like the other person isn't like taking the back that he does. It's quite impressive. The problem being, he just dives to every fucking gank. There's like, me and my friend were sitting there, it's like, Humanoid's actually, like, lane it's kind of impressive, and his lane tactics are really cool, and it's like, shame he just dies anytime someone goes mid lane. It's like, do you need to die to every single fucking gank? It's like, I don't think so.
Summoner usage in general so far has been horrendous, by the way, in the league. Like, that's, I mean, the amount of people who are just dying with flash up in laning phase is fucking crazy. But, yeah, go on.
No, and so, like, it's really interesting. Like, you know, it's just a derivative and a continued thing of that. Karze, I think he's just been very much what he was yesterday. It has, like, some pop-up games, but there's no inclination of the increased consistency. And I actually think the support players... Fucking... Is Fleshy what? The second or third worst support player in the league? He might be the
I actually don't think Stend has been very good at all. So I think Stend has been pretty bad.
No, what? He's a bottom half. He's a bottom half fucking support in the league, and he's been so uninspiring.
I think there's an argument to say that Prime has been better, and he's obviously on Carmine Core Blue. I think Prime has actually been better in 1 or 2 games. Although actually I won't stick by that because I can't remember all the games he's played. But yeah, Flashy has really struggled, and we knew this from last year. So shame to see this continue.
Yeah. But anyway, that is actually going to be it for this week, guys. I think we covered in the first 2 weeks all of the teams over the course of those 2 weeks. Again, because there's fucking 12 teams in the league, it is just crazy, and you know, eats into time for other things such as complaints truck. Am I right? Like, where's that at? So yeah, it's really taking a toll. And Nymaera's on like his 17th podcast of the day as well. So you know, we have to set limits. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching, and we will see you next time.